So this just gives us a general overview of what's happening. And now I'm going to go in and refine things a bit. So my suggestion would be wherever you start refining things, start from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, but don't jump around. The more you jump around, the more likely your proportions aren't going to match in the end. So I'm going to start with the eyes. So I'm going to go in and really look at her eye shape. Really look at her eye shape and try to capture that. Going down. Up. It's kind of a diagonal here. Up, out, and in. Getting that little inner ridge. Marking the tear duct. Looking to either side of the iris, looking at that negative shape to figure out what's going on. And I'm not going to worry about eyelashes and all the details right now. I just want the general shape. I'm going to mark in her eyelid, so noticing this is at a diagonal. Make sure you're drawing along with me. And if I'm going too fast, then feel free to pause it and then just go at your own pace. And then I'm just going to mark in a general eyebrow shape, not worrying about the hair. As I'm drawing the eyebrow, notice where the eyebrows line up. So her eyebrow is a little to the right of the eye. It's not going to always be in line with the corner of the eye. Okay, so we'll leave that like this. Then I want to check my proportion. So I'm going to carry it over, make sure nothing is shifted. That's good. And I'm going to move on to the other eye, noticing, moving on to the other eye, noticing that they're pretty much in line with each other. So going up, out, down, marking in the tear duct. Same thing, looking at the negative spaces to find out what is happening with the eye. Then again, very little eyelid here, and she has a lot of eyeliner on. Marking the eyebrow again. Down. And we will just keep it like that for right now. Okay. Now I want to move on to the nose. So as I'm looking at the nose, we already have the width established, right? And that's not going anywhere. Now I want to start looking for all the same parts of the nose that we were looking at when we practiced. I want to find the bridge. I want to find the ball. Really looking at what her unique ball shape is, so it's a little bit more oval. And then I want to look at the shapes of the nostrils. They aren't really exactly this shape, but I'm doing the best I can here. So circle number 1, circle number 2. So this is what I want to draw in that space right now. So and I'm going to keep these here as a reference. So this is what it should look like. So if I have my box, going over, vertical line and over, oval, then circle, circle on either side. And once I have this, then I want to mark in the bottom. So marking in those nostrils and then noticing that it dips down here. So marking in the nostril, and then dip, and dip. Feel free to go back and refine. It's amazing with portraits how one tiny little like millimeter off mark completely changes who you're drawing. It's like suddenly it doesn't look like that person anymore. And then you make one other little change and suddenly it looks exactly like the person. You just sort of generally mark it in. I'm going to erase these here so we can see what's happening. Now I can also see that there's a small shadow shape here on the underside of her nose. So I'm going to mark that in as well. So it kind of just goes up, down around the oval / ball of her nose, thin ridge here, and then it comes up the center and connects through to her eyebrow. Okay. Again, refining this shape as much as possible. Struggling with her nostril here. Okay. We'll just leave that like that for now. Okay, so we have her nose generally marked in. Now I want to move on to her mouth. So taking a look, even though we have this crease here, sometimes once you do the nose, this line will change a little bit. So I want to look at what is the space between the bottom of her nose here and this Cupid bow. So it looks like I'm going to have to shift this a bit. So what I originally thought was my crease line is going to be my Cupid's bow line. And now I'm going to shift the crease of the mouth a little bit lower, and I'm going to mark that line how I see it. And I already know the width, that hasn't changed. Up, up, and I'll redraw that Cupid's bow. Okay, which for her is really just more like a little line. Now I want to mark in the height of the bottom lip, larger, and we have a little shadow. And then I want to take a look at the space between the bottom of the lip and the chin. So it's going to be a little bit more than I had planned out. Noticing that it's sort of an oval shape. Something kind of like that. And this is just all part of the game. This is just the way that it goes. You're never just going to start drawing and everything lines up perfectly and it's all good. There's always going to be tweaking and going back and forth forever and ever and ever as part of the fun and part of the challenge. Okay. So once I have this, I'm going to come back to the nose, and before I finish the mouth, I just want to make sure that these smile lines, since she's slightly smiling, are in place. So kind of going up. If you press too hard, then she looks really, really old. or older than she is. So we don't want to do that. Coming up, out, down. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the lips and refine that crease shape. Make sure it's how I want it. Down, up, smiling. Okay, then bottom lip, find that too. Okay, all right. Once I have this, I'm going to now move on to the outer shape of the head, or of the jawline and the hair framing her face. So this just varies on the person that you're drawing. There's no formula to it, no secret formula. You just have to look at who you're drawing. So I'm going to mark how much space there is between the side of her hair and her eyeball. So not very much. Kind of coming up and then goes in and then goes up and goes in and then it just tapers off, kind of like that. Then down here, I'm going to make this a little bit more angular for now. So it kind of just goes down, then opens up here, and it's on a diagonal, connecting to the chin here, and rounding that out. And I'm going to do the other side as well. So taking a look where that is, coming out. So this is sort of just going at a diagonal, cutting across. Crease. Down. And then marking with here. I always think that the jaw is the hardest part to draw. I don't know why. It doesn't matter how many portraits I do. I always think it's the hardest because it's kind of like you just have to look and draw it. There aren't really any particular rules. And the same kind of with the chin. You're like doing the best you can, just sort of tweaking, going back and forth, but there aren't any real rules for what it looks like. Okay. Then the last thing I'll do, just so she's not a floating head, is I'm going to mark in the boundaries for her neck. So looking at where the neck lines up, so to the outer corner of her eye. So I'll just mark a line down there. And on this side, if I come up, it's hitting the middle of her eye, coming down. Okay. And that's really all I want to mark in for right now. Does this look, ooh, this is going to bother me. Does this look 100% like her? Not yet. Is it on its way? Absolutely. So what is it that I want you to take away from this? I just want you to know how to look at a photograph and how to get started. I already know that you know how to shade the features. I already know that you know about value and highlights and shadows. So the goal for today is to just understand how to map out the figure, how to start your portrait. So for the rest of the block, and I'm not expecting you to totally finish, you're going to choose one of the images on the topics page, and you're going to try recreating this for yourself on half a sheet of paper. So you'll choose one of those images and map it out using the same process as I did here. I will go ahead and list the steps under assignment so you know what to do first, second, third, and fourth, and what to look for.